In this module, we will learn about object-oriented programming. Till now, you've looked at procedural programming, where you've written programs that are just made up of a series of functions. Each function performs a specific task. Functions pass data to each other. But now we are going to look at object-oriented programming, which is focused on creating objects. Objects are all around us. You see, for example, a watch object, the wristwatch that you wear. The wristwatch has certain user interfaces, which is the face of the wristwatch is the user interface with which it communicates with the user. And then it has certain methods. You can set the time on the watch. You can look at the time on the watch. And it can only do those methods through the set interfaces. For example, you can set the time using the little dial on the side of the watch. Or if it's a digital watch, you can set the time using the buttons given to you to set the time on the watch. Similarly, you might have, for example, a student record. A student object or a student class might be something that contains the name of the student, the scores of the student, the social security number, and these are the operations you can perform on the student object. You can change the name. You may not be able to change the social security number. You may be able to get the year that the student is going to graduate, etc. Okay, so object-oriented programming is very important, and in this module we will learn all about it. So let's start by looking at a class. You have in an object, you have a class. In the class, you define the attributes of the object. And you also define what attributes are hidden in the code outside the object. And you need this data hiding to protect accidental corruption of the object. Objects are reusable. For example, when you have and let me go here to the blueprint of a house. From this blueprint, you can create hundreds of instances of that house. You don't need, and every blueprint has its own attributes and has its own methods, right? They're public methods and they're private methods. So, for example, again, going back to your watch object, the public methods are you can set the time, you can set an alarm, you can set a date. But there are private methods in the watch that are inside the watch that you don't have access to, which are working behind the scenes to make that object work. So a class is basically the blueprint of the object. It's the code that specifies the data attributes and methods of a particular type of object. So an instance, when we say create an instance of the object, it's an object created from the class. So when we create a house from this blueprint, this is an object created from this class. This class defines the basic attributes of this object. Okay. Similarly, if you have an insect class, the insect class defines basic attributes, and the insect class generates a housefly and a mosquito. The housefly object is an instance of the insect class. It has data attributes and methods defined by the insect class, but that object adds on some of its own data methods on top of that. So you will learn that as you get to more advanced classes. Class definition, whenever we write a class, we have to define the class. A class definition is a set of statements that defines the methods of the class and defines all the data attributes of the class. The method definition, which is the function definition, is just like any other Python function definition. So we'll talk about these, and we'll talk about the init method. The init is actually a constructor which initializes an object of the class, and it assigns to it the self parameter. And we'll discuss all of these in the next video.